Again, I'm in my t-shirt. This is Louis Almeida. I'm going to talk about the idea of the intelligence. It's an awakened state. It's different from the ego-intellect. And the ego is very important as part of our self-preservation. I know there are people or spiritual leaders who say the ego must be removed. Stop the ego and get rid of the ego, but that would be impossible because we're born into an environment that teaches the importance of ego, and ego is necessary because it helps us preserve our existence. It helps us live and persist in life. Without the ego, we would actually perish. What is the ego? Ego is the I, or sense of self. A famous psychiatrist, what is his name? I can't think of it. But he talks about the id and the superego. And again, the ego is a sense of I, it's basically though a false sense of I, but it's all we have. And it's a sense of self, and it's our identity. So it has desires. All our desires expresses the ego. We want fame, we want fortune, we want relationships, we want family, we want a job, we want education. All that expresses the ego. And it's so important for our self-preservation. So the ego is a sense of self. We learn from our environment about the how to walk, how to talk, the importance of education, having a family. We're pressured, if your family's successful, there might be a doctor or an attorney, they want you to follow suit. Or if you are in a family that has no interest in education, but they're just surviving, then you will be in constant pain and living in fear and doubt. Where a successful family basically is learning how to apply themselves and learn how to do, and be successful. Now, you heard of Tony Robbins? His whole motivation, he's a great speaker, he's a great motivator, but that's all he's interested in, learning about how to be successful in life, monetarily and materially. Yes, he talks about the spiritual a little bit, but not enough. I am a teacher and a student of Spinoza and Gurdjieff philosophies. I have a website. You can take a look at in the comment area about my website. If you desire to be a student and learn about how to go beyond your ego, then I would suggest you call me, because I've been doing this work for over 50 years, and I have an ego, but it's not a dominant part of my nature anymore, where my ego was the dominant factor. And all the emotions, all our fears, our anger, our pain, our suffering, our hate, our envy, is an expression of the ego nature. And there's another part of us called the intelligence. And that's what I want to talk about, how Gurdjieff and Spinoza, especially Spinoza, has a method of awakening our intelligence. Gurdjieff talks about the problems of human nature, that man is asleep, that he has buffers. He needs these buffers to prevent us from really seeing the truth of our nature. It helps us pretend everything is okay. But for those who are easily going to depression or having emotional reactions, if you're an emotional person, you're going to automatically be expressing your anger and your frustration openly. And that was my nature, highly emotional. And I learned how to apply my mind and to apply reason to learn how to study and solve and work on problems. The problems of life are the opportunities and the material for our growth, as well as beginning to learn about the ego and all the emotions. It's the material to exercise the mind for our growth. Growth is possible when we learn to outgrow the past. But how can we outgrow the past?
We had a nice spot at work, so we drive.
We must learn to, see, right now there are people in the background, you can hear this noise, I'm sorry about that. But I'm in a park and had the desire just to record a meeting or a message, and I hope you can follow me. Anyway, where was I? Anyway, the idea of learning how to awaken the mind, this is where Spinoza is so important. The Spinoza, there's 5 parts of the ethics. He wrote the ethics when he was alive, but it was never printed because his books were banned. And he was a rebel, meaning not against society, but he wanted to help society. He wrote a book called The Theological Political Treatise that questioned the validity of the Bible. And he was called a heresy. He was rejected by the clergy, and especially the clergy and the government, parts of the government. However, he was highly respected from people in high places. They wanted a king from, I believe it was a king from France, wanted him to publish a new book in the honor of the king. But Spinoza says, I'm thankful for asking, but I'm sorry I can't do that. He was also, they wanted to give him a position in the university, and he denied it. He says he didn't want it, but he was gracious and says, thank you very much. If I ever decide to be a professor, I would definitely go to you. But I value my privacy and my thinking. I don't want to change the ideas of my ideas or communicate these ideas differently than what I understand. So Spinoza wrote his ethics, but it was printed after his death, and it was buried for a couple hundred years, and it was rediscovered. And have you ever heard the name? The German philosopher Goethe found Spinoza, and it changed his life. Einstein read Spinoza, and Einstein was highly influenced by Spinoza, and he dared to say, when he was pressured about a rabbi asking him, well, you're famous, Einstein, you're famous, you have a lot of money, you contribute to society, but I don't see you at the temple. What is wrong with you? Don't you believe in God? And Spinoza and Einstein said, my God is the God of Spinoza. But what is Spinoza's God? Spinoza's God is not a personal or an anthropomorphic being. Spinoza's God is the whole of nature. But what does that mean? Spinoza's God is comprised of infinite attributes, and we are part of 2. The attribute of extension, which is the body, and the attribute of thought, which is the mind. Now, the mind is not the brain. The brain is the storehouse of information. The mind consists of ideas that are adequate and confused. Spinoza has a method of how to come to clarity and improve our understanding. And that's what the direction I want to take you. How to improve your understanding, to be aware of your intelligence, to know that is different from the ego-intellect. The understanding is, the intelligence expresses the understanding. The mind wants to understand the laws of nature and how these laws influence human nature. We want to understand the laws of the emotions, such as pain, hate, desire, anger, envy, and all the others, fear and hope. So it's possible to elevate ourselves from being overwhelmed with emotions, be a victim of our pain and suffering because our desires were not met, or we have tremendous losses, a divorce or death, or our health, or we lose our job. These are catastrophic problems, conditions that put us into depression, anxiety, and fear. And how about loneliness? What do you do with loneliness? So I have a method. And thank you very much for listening, because I'm going to have to end this. And maybe you can find me on my website. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.